Okay, here she comes. All right. All right. Act together here again. Okay, call to order here. Meeting starts 3 o'clock. Sharp. And let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. How about that?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right on. Before joining Murph, I don't think I did the Pledge of Allegiance since grade school.
It's middle school.
Middle school, whenever
They don't
they
do it in
stopped.
school anymore.
Oh, they don't?
Probably sure they don't know what they do. They probably edited it, right?
How are you, Chad?
I'm gonna steal this one.
Mandatory here?
For social distancing.
Oh, okay. Well, I got 6 feet on you. Okay. Let's, roll call?
Sir.
Let's start clockwise with
Rose Larkin. Mary Rose Spalletta.
Johnson present.
Greg Fossum?
Sarah DeBeer present.
Jennifer Rusk here.
That shoots environmental staff, and Bill Beach will be liaison, return shortly.
House. Okay, so let's move to approve the agenda. I did have one addition. Maybe we can even move to the top there. It was just the invasive vegetation inventory.
All right.
That's
I'm gonna add that to,
roses. Yeah, just to do an update. Leave that on so we know where that's at month by month. Sound good?
you need
Or
a
does it make
motion?
more sense just to put it in members' reports?
No, that's,
I think it's
it's,
still evolving, so let's leave it, let's put it on the item, on the agenda.
you need a motion for that, if you can.
So moved to approve the amended agenda.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mary Rose motion.
I motion. I don't know if we had a second.
Oh, gotcha. Steve Johnson motioning.
motion.
Okay, then I
Rose
second.
Seconding,
It's okay.
for the record.
Can't see. Okay, anybody else? Any other, everybody approved it. So let's take a look at last month's meetings, I should say minutes. Anybody have any, issues with last month's minutes?
It looked accurate to me.
Reviewed them, they seemed okay to me.
It was kind of a typo, but it was really just a typo when you, Johnson, made the motion about the invasive species list. The acronym is FLEPP, and so the letters are kind of out of order.
Ah, okay,
It's
you
a
know,
typo.
I
It's
meant
not
to double
necessarily
check
a
that.
motion kind of thing.
FLE list. Florida Exotic Pest Plant Council.
Okay, excellent. Okay, as amended, I make a motion to pass them as amended.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Man, oh man. Great meeting. All right, public comment. Anything? Anyone in the vicinity? Nobody. Okay, boom. Give some time there. Jump right in. So I think we moved first to the agenda. Agenda was the invasive vegetation inventory. The reason I wanted to add that back on is because we had that nice email you sent, Rose. Said that everything is a go. Is that correct?
Yes, there's only one slight postponement,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because I have not taken the test, which is tomorrow afternoon, in which I officially become a Master Gardener volunteer.
Ooh.
So they're all set to do this. They really liked it. The Lee County Extension people liked it. And they coordinate with the University of Florida. There's agriculture and science extension, so that's all good. I would like the Fort Myers Beach come up with the actual checklist form.
That was a question I had written here, yeah.
And then they asked that I'd be the project leader,
Okay,
which is fine, assuming I pass the test tomorrow afternoon.
right. How do you feel about it?
I feel great.
You been cramming? Okay, good. Excellent.
If not, I'm sure someone else would pick up the project, so I'm not even.
Okay, well, that's excellent. So really, the to-do from our group is just the checklist form. Being a non-master gardener, any
My husband-
sources?
My husband's a horticulturist, and he actually was interested in diving into it a little bit, so he can maybe come up with a list or help participate with the list.
That sounds great. So we have the FLE PPC list, but that's very exhaustive. Do we want to go through and customize that list, or is that not an exhaustive list? The objective here is to
It's
identify.
very long.
It's very long. I was
And
going to
I've
say.
asked the County Extension to kind of give me the top 10 for this
Right.
area that they would like to look at, but additional help is always nice.
Right, so those would be invasives of most concern, I'd say, right? So which,
Chad knows what we have most of on the
I
island,
know the
right,
top
Chad?
3 or 4 that everybody talks about, but what are the ones that,
Yeah, I mean, it may be a little bit different in the residential areas, just sometimes you have people planting different things that may be a little bit, the more rare exotic species, depending on what they're planting, or something may be carried from landscapers, et cetera, that haven't been seeing necessarily out on the beach itself. But, so the purpose of the checklist is just to have basically a short list of exotic plants as the goal.
Form?
And maybe a fill in the blank if we see something that is not on there.
Are you keeping to category 1 or?
Yeah, I would say category 1s. I mean, my short list would be Australian pines, carrot woods, Evola, air potato, pine. That you can think of, Miss Rose?
Off the top of my head, no, but
you want it out the Australian pines too? I mean, so we have a,
Yeah, I mentioned that. Did I say Australian?
Brazilian
pines?
pepper, did we mention?
I
Oh,
didn't say
Brazilian
that,
pepper,
actually.
sorry, yes, of course.
Yeah, that's a
Brazilian
big
pepper.
one.
I actually say, you started with carrot wood.
So, yeah, definitely Australian pines, Brazilian pepper, carrot wood, Evola, air potato, lead trees. There's a lead tree that's actually here.
All that?
LEAD. That's one that I've seen here and there, a little bit more rare, but I have seen them around.
5. As far as I can recall, I mean, the reason for this is so that we can actually do the inventory, and then based on that, we can make the action plan based on what we find. It'd be interesting to see what comes out of it. So there's 5. Are we looking for maybe 10, do you think, Rose? Is that pretty reasonable?
Yes, but then 5 or 6 is good too. I mean, the
And I
space
would
right
maybe
in.
also get like a note of how big it is. That might kind of tell like the effort if we want to.
Yeah, we talked about that,
Maybe it's
yeah.
diameter, breast height is kind of a common measure.
You're saying diameter is? What's the second?
Diameter, breast height, DBH
Breast height?
is a common universal way to size up a tree.
Right, good.
Don't need to be exact, it's just to know if we're dealing with a tree that's a foot wide versus something that's an inch wide.
Was there a secretarial person that would help, like, put the town logo on or put it on the form, but
Be happy to help you with that. I'd be happy to help you with that, yeah.
Yeah, we have a letterhead it's pretty straightforward if you wanted
Okay.
to.
Pretty
Make it
cool
official.
stuff. I'll send you.
all right.
Rose, how many volunteers will help you with this from the master
have
gardeners?
No idea. gets generated onto a page of possible projects that they can sign up for. And right now, master gardeners have to complete at least 40 hours a year, and they're really short this year. They've kind of been excused because of the COVID-19, not being able to do classes and training sessions. This is fabulous. That's what they liked about it, that one or two of them can walk streets and fill in their hours. So I'm sure lots of them will sign up.
I mean, if it's a report being completed by master gardeners, I would say that maybe L's letterhead.
No, they wanted it to be the town council's.
I understand, but I mean, it's not a report being generated.
Resource Task Force. Logo.
Aren't we going to be
The logo is what's going to be on it. It's a Marine Resource Task Force inventory.
Sure. I mean,
That's
I
not-
just,
It's not your work, basically, right? It's not staff's work. Okay, duly noted.
I don't want to misrepresent it. Well, give a deal that is or not. The consultant to do their work, usually the consultant puts a stamp on that report.
We'll get creative. How's that sound?
What we're, if my understanding is then that the volunteers will canvass all of the streets, looking in all their front yards. They're not gonna go in the backyards.
Right, they're just going to stay on the
Just the
street.
front
They could
yards.
see, yeah.
And they'll write down what they see, and then what we're going to do is decide what the problems are, or
Right, right.
we're not gonna do, with that, once we have that data, we still have the bulk
Right.
of the work ahead of us.
Right. I mean, for instance, you can say, okay, we've identified this many Australian pines. 25% of them have diameters of 2 feet or whatever, and a bunch are small. Can we go after that and offer homeowners to take them down?
Right.
I mean, then you can actually determine what that might cost, or give council lead as to what you can do. You can come up with some kind of a management plan, possibly. That's my thought.
Are we going to let the individual homeowners know what we see is invasive on their property? Because some of them might not even,
I'm sure they don't.
they don't know. Or are they just going to wait until all compiled and,
Probably have to wait until it's all compiled, I'd say.
Until it's all
Yeah,
compiled.
I mean, if they're out, you'll chit chat with them, but it's not that official. It's a list.
are we, as the task force, going to walk with the volunteers, or that's just up to us if we want to?
Too, yeah.
One problem in our neighborhood, the Australian pine, we have 2 or 3 of them where the osprey have topped it and made nests on them.
Yeah.
So if you remove those Australian pines, you're going to lose those nests.
I wonder if you legally
To be
can
done,
remove
have to
them.
be done in
Greg.
non-nesting season, I guess.
Yeah, there's an issue. You said what kind of birds nesting there? Osprey?
Osprey.
Osprey.
We have one across our canal every year, a nest every year, offspring, that same tree.
Is it what's the other pine? A Norwegian lodgepole pine or something?
Yeah, the Norfolk.
Norfolk pine. That's the one that's a single, real strong. It's not the 2 large ones. And ospreys are normally in those
Norfolk.
Norfolk.
I don't know.
Norfolk, I
My
think
wife
is how
tells
they
me to dig
pronounce
a
it.
hole and I say, how deep?
Okay.
That's my knowledge of plants.
Yeah. But you're right. They usually have big nests on top of those. Have you seen them in Australian pines, anybody?
No,
No, I think it's because they're so weak. The tops are
flimsy,
so
I
weak.
think.
They don't make those huge. Yeah, I think you'll have to
See,
ask
they
Ann.
top the birds or something topped
There's
it.
like a platform on. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really flat on top. Yeah.
yeah, I think
So
that's
the Norfolk pines. Yeah, and those are okay. I think, right?
I
they're
think technically
they're-
they are invasive, maybe a category 2.
Too. Yeah.
I need to look at the list.
No, they're not native, but. Okay. Goodness.
It is, and I did have one question that someone probably knows the answer to. Is there a list of all the Fort Myers Beach streets from one end to the other?
Yes. I can send
Yes, but I
send a
wanna-
picture of a map. I can town hall that I can send over.
We're going to include both sides of the boulevard, right? You're going to go not just toward the bay, but you're also going to go toward the beach.
Every square inch. They're very, very,
Not San Carlos Island.
No,
It's more
okay.
just-
But I'm thinking of front yards and backyards and,
right. Oh, do we need, so that's 5. Do we need more, did you say? Or how did we want to fill that out? Just run with the 5?
you can always have other.
I'm waiting to hear back from the Extension Service too on their
Okay,
top
with their
10. But like I
input.
said, since I'm not an official Master Gardener volunteer yet,
Will be, though.
and your husband could add in.
I have, with other 5 that would be of interest. More here myself that I can't. Anyway. Okay. Shall we move on? Let's move on. Fertilizer education. Where do we leave that, actually?
I do have a call in to FDAX. Trying to determine whether or not condo maintenance people actually need an applicator license or not, or a limited license. So I have that question in the air. I was reading through the pamphlet. It said people who are fertilizing using like the property's equipment are exempt from getting that applicator license, but still we have starting to hand out the same info card to the condo managers. That was the next question is, where are we at in educating the condo
Right.
along the beach?
Okay. Excellent. Any other comment on? Really, it's still just, it's kind of this communication platform, correct?
Yeah, education.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Oh. Move on. Brought some December party supplies. If we got done early, I have a little party here. Okay. Let's move on then. FM dune management. Biggie anyway. So have you all had a chance to kind of take a look at that paperwork on that, the plan?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe where it's at is, I think we, this was on our priority list, and what we brought to the town was to ask them whether or not policies and ordinances need to be modernized, whether or not we need to take a look at it, because it really hasn't been discussed in a while. Last time we came, I think we had some discussion, open discussion about clarification. I had a million questions. It was all kind of all over the place then. Now it seems like I've narrowed it all the way down again. Let me open up the discussion, I guess, if anybody's got any questions. And specifically, it's the, maybe I should correct this. So, Chad, I have one quick question before we even get started here. So the two, we have the management plan, multi-page, and then we have, I call it Joanne Champ's Beachfront Landover Landscape Program, which I was comparing the two. I mean, it's pretty much the exact same thing, right? This was just a shortened version to bring to council?
Yeah, I think, so this has been brought to council. Ms. Shamp's document was brought to council right when I just started, so maybe a year or so ago.
Right.
So both of them have been in front of council. I think Ms. Shamp's, I would say that's more policy. And the previous document was more associated with the nourishment, kind of specific to that northern side that was voted on, and has a little bit more quantitative measures associated with it to help determine criteria by which you would say a property is vegetated, it needs more vegetation, does not have any vegetation, therefore, qualifies to get a managed beach zone. There's a little bit more, I want to say science, but a little bit more
Organized.
criteria to it, yeah.
So I think the question to us is whether or not we'd like to just consider this a policy, maybe we want to codify it, make it an ordinance, so it's a little bit easier to manage. Because I think policies generally, council to council, they come and go. The question is, if that's were the case, is, you know, does anybody have any questions about basically this plan?
But how many zones are there for the beach when we're talking about these landscape zones? Is there?
Many properties participated during the renourishment?
No, I mean, are we sectioning off the beach with this and saying that this is a quiet area, and so we're not going to, there'll be minimal raking here, we're just going to let it be natural, whereas we know that people like to play games on this area, so we're going to have I don't understand how
It's not
or
really,
is it all the same?
it's not zoning with regards to kind of how you're speaking towards zoning. I think the managed beach zone means like there's a certain area where, so say for instance, we have Bear Beach. We're going to create, you know, we're going to create a vegetated area, which is the managed beach zone, that is approximately 75% of the width of the property, approximately 15 feet deep. We're going to vegetate that, and that's going to be managed. In other words, we're going to make sure that the plants that are in that managed beach zone are, you know, they survive, they upkeep a you know, a certain density of sea oats, et cetera. And also, as a kind of quid pro quo, allow the property owner to keep it in its place. So you didn't have any vegetation before, you put in vegetation which will build a dune. We understand that, you know, you want some recreational beach behind there, so we're not going to just say, no, you can't rake within 10 feet. We'll let you keep that managed beach zone in that place.
In other words, each individual's property is considered distinct with what they're doing there, although everybody's going to be following the same rules.
Correct, each property would be a managed beach zone.
Yeah, the managed beach zone is the dune you're creating. That's what they mean by a managed beach zone.
Okay, I thought we were splitting the beach up into areas where we would promote something in one area and not in another, but that's not in fact true.
Right, so the whole purpose of this is try to encourage creation of dunes where there's not dunes right now. There's several, you know, there's properties and then wider expanses of the beach that, you know, they have no dune. The issue is really resiliency to storm surge.
Right.
But there's also other benefits, habitat creation. So to try and encourage dunes where there is none is the purpose. So it's you've seen the areas walking by.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was just wondering how we were handling, yeah, that makes sense. I think
Relax
that's the
the
way to do
rules to
it.
say, because it's, you know, so many homeowners aren't willing to put anything in because they lose complete control. That's the way I like to put it.
Yeah.
If you decide to plant anything or grow a dune, you lose control. After it starts, you have no control over it as a property owner. Unless, I mean, there are certain things you can do if you get a permit, but if you allow a managed beach zone, then they have some control over it. For instance, it can't grow longer than 75% of their beach spot. You know, they can stop it. You can rake it to keep it
Okay,
controlled. It
Right.
just won't, you know, grow wherever it wants to without your ability to keep your view or keep your walkway or whatever it is. That's the way I see it.
that sounds reasonable, sensible.
Will each of them, Chad, would each of them have one of these MOAs, a memorandum of agreement? I mean, it'll be individually with anybody that decides that they want to do a managed beach zone. The town keeps track of it, just like it says, so we're ready to do that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the file from back when Keith was doing the renourishment project. It's The managed beach zone is, it's delineated, GIS'd.
Right, so they can be policed and, I mean, not to say you're, you know, cop, but it can be regulated. And then the term limit, how long is that, how long are those agreements are gonna be, how long are those gonna be for?
I think with the renourishment, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at what the memorandum of understandings or memorandum agreements, the verbiage last project. I'm not sure if they did that in perpetuity or if they did it the length of the permit.
Project, right, of the permit, right, of the project? I think that's what it was, to be honest with you. But if a homeowner who's not getting renurturing decides to manage, you know, to develop their own dune or manage beach zone, and you put the MOA, and, I mean, it's up to the town, right, to determine how long that is. I mean, that would be needed, added to this, correct? If it
Yeah, I
was
mean,
gonna be
I don't think,
an ordinance?
yeah, limiting in terms of time, I mean, I would like to see, you know, such an agreement like continue in perpetuity because you know, I'm a homeowner and.
I want to insure it, is why I'm bringing it up,
And
yeah.
in 10 years, you're saying that not to just let it go, you know, sprawl out. That's not what I want. You know,
Exactly.
I think they want something for the perpetuity.
Right, so I mean, okay, we're not the legislators here, but, so something as long as it's owned by, you
For
know,
instance, on the north side, you know, even though that renourishment project is done, I wouldn't want to go back to those property managers and say, hey, wait, you know, now you have to let the dunes sprawl out. I don't think
Right.
that would be a,
the
fair way
property
to treat
changes
that.
ownership,
right.
and maybe the new owner has to sign their own MOA to continue to do that.
Wouldn't
that
want to overcomplicate it.
Okay, okay. All right, it's not my job anyway, right? The other thing I saw, actually, I wanted to ask, so when you're planning you know, the beach zone, it refers to a contractor in here. Just the contractor will do this, or the contractor will do that. Who actually pays, I mean, is that the homeowner's responsibility to hire a contractor, or are they talking about,
I believe they actually had a contractor for their renourishment project. They had
Right.
an engineer go out and GIS map board the state of each property's dune. So whether it was vegetated, partially vegetated, or unvegetated, and then where those vegetation delineations were, and a contractor to come in and create the dunes.
survey it too, I think, the corners of the lot. So my question now is who would do that? So if somebody on, you know, off the access of Flamingo decides they want to do a managed beach zone, who's actually comes into,
And I don't think you need to, you know, overcomplicate it. I wouldn't be looking for you know, a proper stamped survey. I think you can, you know how wide a lot is from LIPA. So, you know, you got 100 feet. And, you know, within a couple feet, kind of determine how wide that property is, where it begins and ends. And therefore about, you know, 75 feet of that are going to be vegetated and
they refer to that for more than just that, but it's, all right.
Is the town paying for the plants? Is that one of the carrots for the homeowners? We could suggest
If
that
it's
if
a
we want.
yeah, I mean, that's something that could come later, I suppose, but right now, it seems like it's on the homeowner to me.
It's on the homeowner.
So it sounds like, yeah, if you want to do that, then
Well, that would be an incentive.
motion, first quarter town promotion.
Right.
Together in MBC and we'll throw in the plants. Right?
you to recommend the council.
Okay. That to the marketing.
Well, I think we need to have something to entice people, to
Sure, I think
encourage
so,
it. And,
too.
I mean, even if we don't pay for all of it,
I think
give
so.
some incentive.
I think so. I think it's a huge, I think the end run is let's get dunes on the whole
Yes,
beach to protect it, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, without question. So I think later on, Murph can work with town to, you know, to do this, but without this, you couldn't do that anyway, so. The last one was, so I looked at the raking, and it seems like it's really explicit. Is there anything that it's missing, Chad, you think, on the raking? Sounds like that if you have an MBZ, you can rake up to 2 feet of the dune. Right, which means that somebody, next door neighbor who doesn't have a managed beach zone can't rake to 2 feet, right?
Right, so, I mean, the way I was envisioning this is, if you have a frontal dune, on your property and there's people who sometimes they have the entire width of their property is completely unvegetated. Sometimes you have like a comma, you have some area in the back of the frontal dune that's unvegetated. So, if you have a frontal dune, then you can maintain the area of the dune as it is. But if you don't have a frontal dune, then you can enjoy that exception to the 10-foot rule. Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, because I was looking at it and seeing there's an issue with it, but. Okay, so let me, I think I have one more here. The only other thing is I had asked a few people, to get their input. One of them was, I sent it to Turtle Time, and she shared some of that information. I think she copied you too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would just change that language to the marine turtle permit holder.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't worried about the corrections and stuff like that. It seemed like, I had looked at it earlier and depended of that and said that the irrigation, fertilizer, and herbicides probably shouldn't be used during turtle season. If somebody's doing that, potentially could be tested in.
Right, herbicides are tough. I'm not sure how much we can regulate that on the beach. I did want to look into Cape Coral. I don't know if I heard it on the news or if I heard it somewhere where they had a kind of a chemical-free zone next to waterways, and I wanted to see the language they had in there. I know with once you get into herbicides, pesticides, you're kind of putting on FDEX, which is why we couldn't do the glyphosate ban.
Can beachfront owners right now, can they go out and apply herbicide to a frontal dune?
That would be destroying vegetation, which is put by the ordinance.
Well, but what if it's...
We're not regulating the herbicide per se, we're regulating the destruction of...
Right. Go out and just spray the beach if they wanted to, if there's no vegetation there, technically. I'm being facetious here, but...
It's an issue.
Right.
I've definitely had the question asked to me before. My answer has been, no, you're not allowed to destroy vegetation. Vegetation, that's what's prohibited. The use of the herbicide is not prohibited.
Yeah, it could be preemptive. You go out and you spray your whole lot, so you make sure you don't have a dune growing there, right? In your experience, do people do that?
I haven't busted anybody
Witnessed
red-handed.
anybody, yeah. I'm envisioning this tractor,
I've seen pictures. I've seen pictures along the lagoon area where we had kind of a commercial applicator. But this was back, years back.
Oh,
There are areas where dune cannot be grown, like Newton Park, they've tried a couple times. So, will the surveys or whatever say, you can't grow dune there because the beach is too short or whatever?
There could be issues.
How is that addressed? We don't want to encourage a dune in an area where a dune can't grow.
Right, so typically you would just look to see where the frontal dune is adjacent to you.
Like Newton Park, they've tried and it failed. That whole area, the beach is too short.
Yeah,
Is there
what
somebody
happens is
reasonable to say, hey, you can't grow on it? Don't try. Don't waste your money or our money.
That's a fair point. I think the erosion that happens next to seawalls, it kind of exponentially scours out and
The whole area, it's a shorter beach.
that would be worked out during the discussion of whether or not they can apply for a...
They could apply. If they do a survey, is a surveyor going to be looking at it and say, hey, it's not possible? Or they probably never say not possible, they say low likelihood of growth.
fair point.
Because if you have a surveyor who also gets money from that and a contractor said, yeah, put a dune here and washes out multiple times, that's not fair to the homeowner either.
Right. This is going to be a very lucrative thing for anybody.
Well, for the people who plant the dunes,
Yep.
the homeowner has to pay for it. So, yeah, there's money exchanged.
Fair point.
Other discussion? Any other comments? Ed? Here?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's trying to just encourage dunes where dunes don't exist.
Right. I mean, if the dune doesn't exist there, who cares how far you rake close to it, right? Because it's not there.
Right.
So that would be interesting. So, I'll make a motion that, so one question before that. So would you then make this what's now a policy and turn that into an ordinance? You'd be the writer to put that together and then
Yeah, I
tweak
mean,
to codify it? Codify it?
yeah, I'd like to try and incorporate it into the code so it has a bit more permanency and encourage it rather than it being a document that my successors kind of have to look up in minutes of council meetings and through staff files, et cetera, try and stumble through it and try and figure out what the policy is.
Mm-hmm.
This
And
has definitely been a learning curve over the last year.
if it is codified, then would Murph be in a position to help promote the it may be a program, basically, town would want to, educate the property owners that this is now new policy or new ordinance, correct?
Sure.
All right, well, I'll make a motion then. I'll make a motion that we, what's the right terminology here? To codify the current, or with some change, or to move forward with codification of the policy.
Codify
I need some bureaucratic speak here.
yeah, codify the Fort Myers Beach Dune Management Plan and to extend it to the entire island.
Correct, yeah, that's the biggie too, right, because previous to this, it was only available to people that were receiving
Right.
sand, renourished sand,
That's
so.
this full 14-page,
Correct, right.
this whole thing. And the only thing we've changed is that we're going to include the marine, the turtle permit
Right.
also.
Right.
Otherwise, it's
Pretty much, well, yeah, and I think that, would we see, if you did write it into an ordinance, would it be,
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the only thing I'd change, but I promise to bring it back to y'all before I.
right, that's my
Oh,
question.
good,
Yeah,
yeah.
that we'd be able to take a look at it.
Right.
Make sure we're all agreed upon it. So, okay, so then I'll go ahead and make the motion that we take the Fort Myers Beach Vegetation Management Plan, currently a policy, and codify it in order to see if we can, to extend this to beachfront owners who currently don't have, not have it available.
Second that.
In favor?
I'm just reading this. This thing is extremely complicated for a very simple thing. It could be rewritten totally. I mean,
You think 14 pages is too much?
yeah.
Yeah, I think so, Greg.
I mean, there's duplications throughout it. It's confusing. I think it could be simplified in a page or two.
Absolutely.
And that would be the key. Otherwise, nobody will understand it.
Right.
That was my caveat to Miss Mary Rose. I'm not promising that's the only thing that's going to be. Hopefully
Okay, good.
get more elegant for you.
Is there some disagreement about the 75% and 25%? Are all the homeowners going to be under that same rule, or are we going to have a situation where some people are shortchanged because they're coming in later?
You understand?
Yeah, I don't know how to, do you know what I mean, Steve?
Yeah, so the objective is that if you do put in a dune, you do create a modified beach zone, that as part of the requirements, that it stretches 75% of your width of your lot.
Right.
You're allowed to keep 25, but actually, if you wanted to go 100%, you can go 100% if you wanted to.
Okay.
But I don't think you can, currently, under this policy, you can't have it less. And it also has to be 10 to 15 feet wide.
Okay, so no one is going to say, we agreed to something previous to this, and so we don't have as good a deal. These are the same percentages.
Correct.
75%,
That were
et cetera.
offered to North End that actually received the renourishment. That
Okay.
these were written for, actually, yeah.
Okay, so it's a uniform rule for the island.
Correct, right. Correct.
Basically saying we want frontal dunes. We consider a frontal dune to be a vegetated area that covers 75% of the width of the property and to 15 feet deep. I'm not sure which one. I keep vacillating on that a bit. And then there's also a certain density of vegetation for it to be considered vegetated. So you're worried about the width, you're worried about the depth, and you're worried about the density of plants within there for it to be quote unquote a frontal dune. And if you have that frontal dune, then we can exempt you from raking 10 feet away and manage that area in place.
That's good. So I'll second it unless I did already.
Did?
I think I signed it.
We went back to some discussion, so,
I think you don't necessarily need to get into particulars, just that you're supporting staff creating, codifying a policy to promote dunes in accordance with this Fort Myers Beach Dune Management Plan.
much what I said. Can I keep my original one? Okay.
So most ordinances have a negative, you do this or you get fined, or you do this or you make money. Is there going to be a negative or a positive I mean, is it just going to be a bunch of words as a ordinance, or is it going to be like if you're building a house, you got to do it a certain way or you get punished? So what is the goal? Encouragement?
Yep.
Just encouragement, no teeth.
Well, so the carrot and the stick are, we have areas of open beach where we would want a dune. On those areas where they're refusing to put a frontal dune, then we say, well, then you can't rake within 10 feet and hold them to that
Feet of,
vegetation.
and if they do it, what do they get?
Can maintain the dune vegetation where it's at.
They don't gain anything. They don't, it's a null and void, isn't it? I mean,
Maybe I can explain it. So right now, if you have a dune, if you decide to plant native beach plants, salt tolerant beach plants on your lot, and once it creates, once they sprout, you're not allowed to touch them. And that dune, depending on how the accretion occurs, can grow anywhere all over your lot. It can grow super high, so you don't have a view of the water anymore, and you have no control over that. So that's why people don't put in dunes. No control. So what this allows them to do is actually to plant the dune and to remove the constraints of managing it. So you can literally trim it. You can actually lower the dune with these rules if it gets too high. You can rake it very closely so it doesn't spread, so you can keep it managed. Don't lose control of it, of your lot and your view and everything else. That's what it does. It basically relieves the homeowner that's willing to put a dune in. It gives them control of it.
now they don't have any control. It can grow as big
Very
as
little. You can apply to the DEP for a permit to do work on your lot, but it's, you have to get a permit. You're not allowed technically to do it without permission.
who don't want it. Probably the condos.
They don't have to take it.
And there's not going to be anything here that's going to make them do it.
No,
No, you're not
completely
The only-
voluntary.
the only stick that you have is you have this big open lot. So, okay, you don't want to dune, but do not rake within 10 feet of that vegetation period.
Vegetation. Wow,
They'll have vegetation adjacent to them.
if it starts to go on their property line, they can't rake it.
I mean, that is the rule now.
Right.
It's just, getting some, again, it's getting guidance on how you want to regulate this beach. There are areas where open lots have been maintained, they've been maintained for years. Are they raked within 10 feet? Probably. Going after that right now as a priority? No. But it's the goal of this is not necessarily the stick, it is the carrot to incentivize property owners to create a dune without the regulatory liabilities.
And they can have a little bit more control of the growth.
It's not specifically addressed in here. I mean, that's part of the EC zoning. We added, not sure what if we want to be duplicative with the EC zoning ordinance that just got in 20-02 from earlier this year.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Have to go back about 15 minutes to find out what the original, what was motion, but yeah, I just think without it, you're not going to have dune formation at all, and you're going to have continued problems with storms and for wildlife. And excellent. So, what do we got next? All right, let me find it here. That is completion of the agenda, 3:47. That's a good for me.
We got the Murphy.
Can you talk about it?
We have, oh yeah, we do. Okay, so that. So, anybody have any Murphys?
I do.
Okay, who said that, Chad?
So last Friday, I had a group of a dozen plus volunteers from Arthrex came out and we walked the WA. I educated them on the exotics, Australian pines and scaevola, the two most common offenders along the beach, and they helped me with some clippers, put them at the substrate and paint it with some herbicide, and along with the debris, storm debris, planks, a lot of Leonardo d'Arms planks, a lot of blocks of styrofoam in the mangroves, etc. Filled up about 6 or 8 of the Kubota dumpsters. So quite a bit of storm debris material and exotic vegetation was removed from the CWA last Friday.
Excellent.
I saw that going on. Good job. Thank you, Chad.
I thank the guys from Arthrex.
Is that a company, Arthrex?
Yeah, it's a bioengineering or biotech company in Naples. Sorry?
Wait.
Yeah, they sent some pictures and they may have emailed them to me, but we've been very glitchy with our emails and it may have been lost. We're still working on syncing that all up, but as soon as I get it, I can share it.
Feels like exactly the kind of thing we need.
Anybody else? Yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion. We make Arthrex the Murphy winner. Best Murphy winner of the year.
That's right. I'll second it.
Okay. Favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. There we go. Okay, so
job, Chad.
Chad, you'll get that to Bill, right?
Sir.
And Bill, I think that's one you're looking for, right?
No, the one that I did, the Pelican one was, or sorry, the Vulture one was new. The one last time was something else. I didn't manage to find.
Or did you?
Lady that picked up garbage.
Biker. Eddie Thompson is the one. Okay. I see, I misunderstood. You're looking. I see. I gotcha. I gotcha. I thought those all ran. But the Murphys made it though, right? I mean, I remember Betty was on it, and so the Vultures made it too, right? Maybe I didn't see it. I guess maybe I saw
it
it
in
from
the
the
paper?
write-up.
In the paper.
Worded it. I see. So maybe that's how I mistake. I thought I saw it in the newspaper. Okay. Right. It's perfect sense now. That's correct.
I have
correct.
January,
Okay.
that's where I think it stopped.
We passed through everybody. Yeah, we missed Greg Holmes. He yelled on us. So, and what's that? Anybody?
Good job.
It means basically you collect it and you forward it. I see. I don't remember ever receiving that template. I think I ever sent it, yeah.
Remember,
You received it?
back in March, I think.
You're down on the to-do list to send the template again. Doesn't answer your question, who wants to do it?
We'll put Renee in charge since she's not here.
Make a motion, make Renee responsible for the stories. I got a second. All in favor?
Oh, man. Used to
I'm
be
sort
my
of not
friend.
kidding. All right, you guys won't want it. Good for you.
That's right.
Right, right. So send the
Should be
template,
good,
Bill,
though.
and then we'll see next month if we have something. Otherwise, I'll do it. But how does that sound? Don't have to write them all. That's good to do, right? I see. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember that ever, so look forward to getting that. Anyway, so we have Doc Fossum here. He's got his article. Then we'll start over, right? Does anybody have an issue with going in the same order?
I don't think Renee had her turn, did she?
Oh, no, it started, well, we didn't start actually doing it until August. I guess that's when I have it written down that Mary Rose, Jennifer, Sarah, Steve, it was going to be Greg Holmes, then Greg Fossum, and then Rose. So Rose, you haven't done one yet.
Right, I was gonna do January, kind
okay,
of put
yeah,
that thing out about
yeah.
the master gardeners walking around the street.
I see it now. Okay, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that'll
Gotta
be
give people a
informative.
heads
That'll be
up.
very timely.
Okay, now we'll get the dates together, right, and so we'll get Renee in there too. I'll
Definitely
slip
get her in
Renee.
there.
Pardon me?
Yeah, definitely. Put her in twice.
Okay. Yeah, so she has to do one too already, so we got, heck, we got until March. I see it, or February, yeah, March. We'll get is the submission dates, Bill, on that template too? Or is that just, okay, I gotcha. Okay, so by next meeting, we'll have that the dates, we'll have a new list for everybody. How's that sound?
Yes.
Agreeable with that? Query. Yeah, no kidding. Meeting, yeah.
Get a email from the Florida Health Department that red tide in low levels was observed miles off the beach.
Nothing dead is coming in, Chad.
I did get reports from base that some horseshoe crabs had some bass, or catfish, which are pretty typical. Cormorants have been kind of a steady flow. Not as bad as last year, and certainly not as bad.
Bad. Really. News is that word that passed, huh? The Water Resources Development Act. What's the federal funding, all the water projects?
Right.
It's gotta
Hopefully-
it's gotta go through the Senate, but
U.S. Army Corps continues to dial down the Okeechobee releases.
okay. Right along here. Got the Murphy taking care of members, items, and reports. One clockwise today. Rose, would you like to start?
I have,
Okay, that makes.
I also have nothing new today.
I want to get out of here. Okay, I have an item. Basically, I was kind of going through our priority list. We're actually going through pretty well because we have to set the agenda for the next meeting. Let me throw this out here for a second. So these are the updates that we decided on to give the council, which by the way, I'll probably go to it's the next meeting, January, general meeting. Do an update here for Murph since we've made motions, a number of motions here in the last number of months. Update them on where things are going, but it seems like the still ongoing is yellow-bellied slider. We're giving them the three-month update, I guess, or I should say a chance to work together. The Estero Boulevard roadway lighting is moving forward now again. The invasive species, we've made a motion to allow, hopefully get some resources for Chad to work in the EC to get rid of invasive species. We're also working on the residential species list. Management and education, I think we talked about that the last few months, so that's moving along. Beach raking, I'd say maybe could have been folded into that. That's something we have to pull out by itself. The fertilizer ordinance outreach, that's certainly on its way. Reef safe sunscreen products, that hasn't really been touched. Filling holes on the beach, I'm not sure I guess that's still an agenda item. The Big Carlos Bridge rubble, artificial reef, actually, timing was good there. Bill just forwarded me an update there. From the contractor providing or requesting a question from Lee County as to how far out, in order to do their calculations, if they did do a reef, how far would the transportation be? They're basing it on 25 miles. They have a permitted site at the Dean Hicks reef, artificial reef that's already out there, which means that they potentially just add a couple more spots on that. Or they said within I don't know if it's already permitted, but they had a spot 5 miles off the beach, but felt like that might be too shallow. I saw your response on that, Bill, and I think maybe you can do together, but the other one was closer to Fort Myers Beach. It was questionable because it was potentially too shallow. Right, no, that's Dean Hicks, that's a little further out. That's in 45 feet of water, so 5 miles out would be maybe 30 feet, 25 feet maybe. GH is maybe 7, right? So we'll see, through activism or whatever, lobbying, maybe we'll see if we can get here near the beach. Right. That's, I think, maybe January this coming year, actually, I think. Mine serves me correct. I'd have to take a look at that, yeah. The comment stuff. So the Big Carlos Bridge fishing pier, that's kind of ongoing. It's not necessarily a project for us, more kind of a lobbying. And then also boat pump outs and derelict vessels, which we said we're going to the AA, the Anchorage Committee meetings. Mitch, any updates from that?
I've been a little busy and I just got emails from Chad and I'm going to send to me a second time. I lost the first one. And it starts up in January.
Ah, okay. I know that was on there. That in mind, after we go to the next section for agenda, we can add some things. So, other than that, that's it for me.
Anything new for me?
Right. A little party or something, or again, the party,
Yeah.
the party theme, right?
Yeah.
A little steering meeting, huh? Okay. Good. I could use some steerage. Are you, Mrs. DeBeer, any updates? Any
Do not
member
have an
reports?
update.
Hey. Huh?
Getting through the WC permit hurdle. This month. I
Technically,
lost, between data, holiday.
again, technically, it's approved. That's gonna happen. Right? Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. There's still people buzzing through there. Well, they still can, I guess. Good. So actually, we do have another public comment here. We have a visitor. Like to quickly speak today, Bill? Hey.
For the record, Bill Perry.
the agenda for the next meeting. So we take fertilizer education off? Does anybody have any issues with that, or do we need to sound in? Please bring it back if we need to. Actually leave, I don't know what we want to call it, invasive vegetation inventory on, just so we can finalize the checklist, make sure everything's moving. Is that the date on that, or? Is there a date as to when you thought that would, I think you had originally said maybe January, February start date.
Yeah, it's just start in January.
Okay, so that'd be a good time to reconnoiter, and then we can, F&B dune management, do we need that on there anymore now that we've made the motion? I mean, obviously it's ongoing because you're gonna do the rewrite. Do you think you'll have the rewrite by, right up by,
No, I doubt it.
yeah?
Give me
I
a
would
couple
hope not.
months.
Okay. So we leave that, why don't we just leave that on there? I mean, whether it takes us a minute or not. On there. So, in addition, there was discussion on the tweaking the lighting ordinance, which, due to the upcoming season, I think there was some issues with language in order to better enforce it. Chad, is that,
It'd be worth revisiting since it's, new ordinance, new, state's still working on their side of it, so I think it'd be worth
right?
having a look-see, and I can bring back some language for y'all.
Okay, good, because I also understand that the film, they reflect the 15% versus 45% still up for grabs too.
Yeah, there's, so the Triple CL, program uses 45%, and that is quote-unquote sea turtle glass. However, whenever you read their literature, they'll say that, 15% is what they agree actually mitigates the light. And the most common you see is somewhere in the 20s or 30s, somewhere in between. The model ordinance that came through had the 15%, but I think from what I'm hearing from Ms. Eve is that there's still some discussion on that, whether or not that's going to be included.
Right, and because we do have a rental agency
Right.
organization that,
Yeah, so I think new construction, I think, is pretty straightforward. The windows are engineered and designed with a 15% turtle glass with little to no reflectivity. I think it's, like you're saying, whenever it's a retrofit and curtains are, blackout curtains are the best thing to do. Issue with the rental companies is everybody's on vacation brain and gets to close their curtains, so the window tinting is a little bit more foolproof. That seemed like a good option. However, their credit managers worked with the manager over at Smuggler's Cove, and he was actually testing different tints, and it seemed like, whenever we were outside, we're like, wow, that's really bright. It's kind of, amazing that's saying that it's 15%, and it also had a pretty high reflectivity. And then he had another one that he tested. It seemed like it did the job. And then discussions with FWC, reflectivity is just something that they didn't really consider in the initial discussions. And I think hopefully I'll have a call scheduled with them either tomorrow or Friday to kind of discuss that issue and where we're at. But long and short of it is, yeah, I think kind of going back through it, seeing where the state is at on their developing their model ordinance and reviewing ours and at the years past and seeing where to those. I'm asking for, yeah.
yeah, and that's the
I
big one,
agree.
yeah. Okay, so, what else do we have on our? Do we want to put, what did I say wasn't on there? Basic species, reef safe sunscreen products, is that, that was, I know that was Renee and yours, kind of yours, so, let's throw that on there. Since it was on the priority list. That, Chad? Filling holes on the beach there too, we might as well knock that out, right? We're gonna do something, let's decide what the heck we're gonna do. Right. Okay. Well, we'll put it on the agenda, so we can start in January with that. I think that's, that's all we have from original 10 priority list that we had only a few months back, so they must be doing something. Oh, the other would be, I think dark skies. Investigate that a little bit, especially since we've got the lighting project coming, and right now there isn't really any. It was referred to in the bid that went out that the town may consider some kind of dark skies, so we might as well begin the dialogue on it, which is basically light pollution specifically. Any other items? Getting any, Ms. Letta?
That sounds pretty busy to me.
Oh, we'll load it up. We don't move as quickly as others. Larkin, anything
Yep.
you'd like to see? It's you. Sure, you can comment on it. Ones that are offshore?
I think you're talking.
Oh, right. What we would discuss then. Okay, yeah, well, that we can put that under dark skies.
I mean, the ball fields also, they throw out a lot of light.
Well, with the LEDs, the bright white light, it's just Lee County's been installing them all over the place, really. Do we want the island night to look like it's daylight, or do we want it to be dark? Meaning, do we want it to be evening at least, that there's a diurnal cycle, that it's light and it's dark. But also for all the migrating birds and just the wildlife and ambiance, really. That's why I would throw that on from my perspective. Here, any items on the agenda you'd like us to consider?
Once I contact the people on the mooring committee,
Okay.
maybe I'll have something, but not at the.
Good. We set? I think we're set for the agenda.
Sure.
Okay. Are we forgetting anything that you might want to add?
No, I think I've given myself plenty of work. Thank you.
Okay. How about you, Councilman Veach? Yeah, you're looking, you're looking for projects? For reading? Okay, all right, I think we have a pretty broad agenda, so we can narrow it down. I mean, they come and they go, so. All right, well, let's take a look here. I usually pull this at the end here. We set the agenda. And I think a motion to adjourn the meeting, 4:15 PM.
Second that.
All in favor?
All right,
All opposed? Aye.
Merry Christmas to
There was
all.
one opposed, and that was the chairman.
That's right, be well.
Happy,
Make it
happy
back here
Merry
for the next
Christmas,
meeting.
Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Excellent. Yeah, don't forget. That's right, Christmas Tree Festival, it's the main event. Right, chili cook-off,
Where's this?
the Women's Club,
Oh,
this coming weekend. And no, the food truck's not that day. That's the Friday night.
Friday night is, bars
Hmm? Yep. That's right.
I have a very important meeting this, grandchild's 5th birthday.
Oh, boy.